Good morning to everyone and welcome back to Policing with You. I am your host, Charmaine Odin. With me, I have three guests that will be discussing online scams, particularly job search scams affecting St. Kitts and Nevis. I will have my guests introduce themselves and say their role in the department that they work. So ladies first.
Thank you. Good morning to the listening audience. I am Larry Wilson and I'm the acting director within the St. Kitts and Nevis Financial Intelligence Unit. So, what is the FIU? So, the FIU is the National Central Authority for the receiving, for the collection, for the analysis of STRs or suspicious transaction activity where money laundering is suspected. Also, the Financial Intelligence Unit liaises with local and foreign and we liaise with local and foreign law enforcement agencies as it relates to money laundering and other related activities. Let me highlight that our FIU is an administrative style FIU in that we do not investigate. So we analyze the reports, and if it is determined that money laundering is there, then we would forward it to our partner, which is the White Collar Crime Unit of the Royal St. Christopher and the Nevis Police Force. So they are the investigative arm and we are the administrative arm.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson, for that.
Good morning to all listening public. I am Inspector Watts, and thanks again for having me on your show, on our show, I would say.
Most welcome.
Yes. I work at the White Collar Crimes, and like Ms. Wilson said, we investigate money laundering as our main function. We also investigate the disclosures that is filed by the FIU, and we carry out a lot of other responsibilities such as international liaison with our international partners and regional partners, and we basically do money laundering and other related matters.
Okay.
Good morning all. My name is Travis Henry. I'm a sergeant in charge of the cybercrime unit within the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force, and this department was designed to handle cyber-related incidents and to collect digital evidence.
Thank you guys so much. We have some big dogs in the house, as the young people would say. Yes, we know that there are a lot of crime that is plaguing our federation, and job search is one. And I thank you guys for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and explain to the listening audience what job search is. So, first, yes, let us explain to the audience what is job search scam and what is it you have been seeing and saying is happening.
Yes, so basically, since around March 2024, thereabout, we have received reports from persons based in St. Kitts and Nevis, and some reports come from persons in the other jurisdictions, in the Eastern Caribbean jurisdictions. We saw from Antigua, from Grenada, St. Lucia, and Dominica. These persons have been reporting that they have had unauthorized withdrawals from their bank accounts. Now, these withdrawals, we saw that the funds were deposited into accounts in St. Kitts and Nevis. So in some instances, we have persons locally, their bank accounts are being hacked and the funds are being sent to other persons in St. Kitts or sometimes outside of St. Kitts. We saw some persons from the rest of like Dominica, for example, or St. Lucia, where their accounts were compromised and the funds are being sent to St. Kitts and Nevis. So what we have realized through our investigations is that these persons, the bank is not the issue. We saw that the customers have been compromised, their email have been compromised via phishing emails. Now, the persons who received the funds, we realized that these persons were under the notion that they actually are providing some services for a company. They felt that they were being employed by a company. So they responded to ads on Facebook and other social media where they basically applied for a job. When they got the job, the funds that were being paid to them were actually funds that were being sent from persons who scammed and hacked other vulnerable persons' accounts.
Thank you so much, Inspector
Yes.
Watts, for that. So you spoke on an incident relating to the online. Can you give us an example of what you have been seeing?
Yes, sure. So, take for instance, we had an individual who applied for a job she saw advertised on Facebook. That person filled out the application form, submitted the bank information, and after about a month or two, that person got an email indicating that they were successful in getting the job. Now, funds were being transferred into that person's account, and the person was being told to perform some tasks. For example, doing research and writing up papers, etc. So they were actually doing some kind of services. The person was sent funds from the scammers, and they of course didn't know at the time it was a scam, and they were told to part of the funds is the salary and the remaining is to be sent to other persons overseas for the purpose of the job. Now, when we got the report, when that victim realized that the funds was missing from their account, we brought our cybercrime department in, which is Sergeant Travis Henry's team. They did their analysis of the person's computer system, and they realized that that person had his account compromised via phishing. Now, the victim in this case now is the actual person who lost the monies. The persons who received the funds locally, they felt that they were doing the job like I explained earlier. So the hackers or the scammers would have been telling them to do certain tasks that make it believe that they actually are working for their monies. We saw another instance where a person was being paid, and the service that they were offering or the job that they were doing was what they call a mystery shopper. So the person felt that their job was to go about and, well, persons I would say, felt that the job was to go about and basically conduct transactions at the money service remitters, and basically to write a report at the end of the transaction indicating how the customer service was, how tidy the place was. And we saw that these persons actually wrote the reports and submitted the reports. Then when they were paid now, and we got involved, we realized that these persons were actually being used to launder the funds. So it's basically called third-party money laundering.
Thank you so much, Inspector Watts, for that detailed examples. Those detailed examples. I heard you use the term phishing keep popping up about 2 or 3 times in your explanation. So can you expound? I guess this is for Sergeant Henry. Expound on what is the term phishing when it comes to phishing.
Phishing in the cyber world is basically the same as in the traditional. You throw out your line and you see if a fish would bite your bait. Same here, malicious actors would create an email, malicious content, and they would send it to numerous persons, in hope that somebody would answer or click the link. And that's how the computer get infected, they get access to your passwords and all that. Right. So according to the National Cyber Center in the UK, they describe phishing as when criminals use scam emails, text messages or phone calls to trick their victims. The aim is to often make you visit a website which may download a virus onto your computer or steal bank details or other personal information. So basically what I just explained in layman terms, so that is phishing.
Thank you so much, Sergeant, for that. Who are the victims of these job search scams? Who are the victims?
Okay, the victims of these online scams based on intelligence are elderly persons who are not tech savvy, meaning that they are not proficient in modern technology with computers. So as the sergeant just explained, when they get these calls and emails, they are easily fooled into disclosing information that they should not in these cases.
Yeah, and I will also add, if I may, that we have also seen businesses being compromised as well. So not just the elderly, but primarily the elderly persons. But I will also add as well that anybody could be a victim. All it takes is for you to click on the email as Mr. Henry explained. And I guess the elderly persons, like Ms. Wilson explained, they don't really monitor the emails as often as a young person would. and possibly, maybe it is more likely that these persons and businesses have monies available to be stolen, as opposed to a young 20-year-old person who just started working. So.
Okay, thank you so much. Monday when I was in the Chinese, an elderly guy complaining to a next young man, stating that he's getting emails stating that he won the lotto, and he has to send a certain amount of money to these people. So he tell them take out the money and
That's interesting.
yes. So everybody's trying how they can. Who is responsible for these scams?
Well, that is what we actually investigating right now. We have sought the assistance from our international partners in investigating these matters. We suspect it to be international criminal organizations, given how complex the network is. We saw that the persons in St. Kitts and Nevis and in the rest of the Caribbean who have been receiving these funds, they were led to believe that they are actually providing some services they are employed. We saw that they are sending the funds via the remitters to other jurisdictions, whereby the person who received the funds, they too are of the belief that they are actually providing some kind of services. Then from there, the funds goes onwards to international criminal organizations, we suspect, based on the trends and patterns and based on our discussion with our international partners. However, the persons locally who engage in receiving these funds and then remitting these funds, they too, they have engaged in laundering based on their actions, because they were part and parcel of the entire, well, based on the investigations, it determines that these persons too could be held responsible.
So even though I do not know, it's a scam, and I am searching for online job, so this thing pop up, and I do my stuff, I can also be charged for.
Well, yes, you could be charged, because even if you do not know, the money laundering is described under the Proceeds of Crime Act. Yes, as persons who engage in dealing with proceeds of crime via, be it whether you receive it, you possess it, you transfer it into St. Kitts or out of St. Kitts, or you engage in transactions involving the proceeds of crime. The law also go on to say that if you when you do these things, we have to prove that you knew the monies or the property was the proceeds of crime, or we have to prove that it ought to have reasonably known. Under these circumstances here, the persons may not have known outright, but based on the circumstances that were presented, they ought to have known, they should have known. You know, if you see smoke is coming from the cane field, you can't say you don't know there's a fire down there. You haven't seen the fire, but you should have known there's a fire down there. You see everybody's running from a direction and shouting and screaming. You cannot say something is not going. You must have known that something is going on down there to cause person to run from the location. So once you receive these funds and realizing how easy it is to come to your hand, something should have clicked in your head at some point.
Why would my boss tell me to send money elsewhere?
Why would someone just send monies to you just met you on the internet, you applied for a job, and they sending all these funds to you in St. Kitts? Some person will not even trust their neighbor with $100.
Right.
They won't even trust the police or trust ordinary persons with small amount of monies. But why would you want to say you're going to trust somebody from overseas would trust you with $15,000 and asking you to send the money to overseas when you could easily just take the monies? So these are the things, and there are other red flags that we have seen that should have led the person to believe that this was a scam.
Before we take a break, I want you to go into detail as to the consequences of being involved in these scams. What are the consequences?
Well, like I've explained, it is laundering, it is money laundering, it is third-party money laundering. These persons could be charged, and the law states clearly that the offense of money laundering carries a penalty of up to $250,000 for an individual, or imprisonment for a term up to 20 years, or both. So you could be fined and also imprisoned. That is if you are charged criminally. Apart from being charged criminally, having a money laundering conviction renders you unbankable, because no bank should or ought to want to have someone who has been compromised in that extent to be depositing funds into their account. So just consider the fact that you may want to go and study overseas, consider the fact that you may want to take a mortgage at some point or buy a vehicle at some point. If these banks do their due diligence, they would realize that you were prosecuted for money laundering, and more than likely they would not want to onboard you as a customer. There's also, being unbankable, and young persons especially want to go and study, like I said earlier, they have a life to live and you have a criminal record, a laundering record. It affects you from traveling. There's a lot of consequences for the individual, but primarily is Excuse me?
Especially with the US.
Especially with the US. I mean, I don't foresee this under normal circumstances an individual applying for a visa to travel overseas and being a convicted money launderer.
Right.
I don't foresee a business place, a regulated business place, hiring someone who is a convicted launderer.
Yeah.
So this is some of the consequences that, on top of criminal sanctions, that persons may face if they are charged.
Thank you so much for that. We're going to take a break and pay some bills, and we'll be right back.
Are you tired of Wi-Fi dead zones in your home? The Cable has the ultimate solution with our whole home Wi-Fi coverage. Say goodbye to frustrating signal drops and hello to seamless connectivity in every corner of your home. No more
Mom, my tablet's not working in my bedroom. My game is freezing, Daddy.
or WhatsApp calls dropping as you walk around the house. So many people struggle with dead zones and restricted Wi-Fi, and the Cable has the answer. Enjoy full blanket increased Wi-Fi coverage with installation in 48 hours or less. Whole home Wi-Fi coverage is here. Get the whole family connected today. Come in or call the Cable at 465-2588 to get your whole home Wi-Fi boost installed. The Cable, always giving you more. Terms and conditions apply.
Visit Courts for a Fat Day experience like no other and save big! Get 30% off on credit and 20% off cash purchases. Look out for doorbuster deals. Plus, we choose VAT on all purchases. Get pre-approved with Courts Ready Finance. Submit your documents today. Stores open on Friday, August 16th at 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and on Saturday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. in both islands. It's a VAT Day experience for the record book. You can't miss it. Terms and conditions apply. Courts, bringing value home.
Good morning once again, and welcome back to Policing with You. I am your host, Charmaine O'Dane. With me, I have officers and members of the Financial Intelligence Unit with us discussing online job search. We have spoke about a number of things so far. If you feel free, you can call in. Our lines are open. Before we took a break, we were talking about the consequences of these job scams. What are the consequences even for the victims? What are the consequences? And in it, we spoke a lot about monies being laundered. Can you tell us or give us an idea as to what is the figures?
Well, what we have seen is that most persons who receive the funds, they receive between $2,800 to $5,800. So we don't see one individual receiving more than EC dollars, yes, receiving at one point. But we have seen individuals receiving multiple payments over a period of time. So there's one person receiving total $15,000. We have another individual getting $11,000. So persons are receiving these funds incrementally, so they don't send too much at one point to cause the the bank to suspect that something is wrong.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Has anyone been charged so far for these actions? For example, the victim. Well, I would say.
Well, she's not wrong to say victim, because the persons who are engaged in the laundering and saying they are, to some extent, they were scammed as well. However, as I explained, they should have known. They should have known because the red flags were there. So yes, they may be a victim in the sense that they were scammed out of a genuine job, but at some point you should have realized that something is wrong. And
flags.
And you spoke about these persons, and yes, of course, we talk about the consequences for their actions. And they are victims, you will say, but they also have been committing offenses. And we need to put us up to it. We need to get these persons to desist from engaging in such activities, because it is a strain on the police. That is one. It's also a strain on the victim who have been losing these hard-earned funds.
Right.
And you are engaging in that to getting these funds sent overseas for payment.
Has anyone been?
Yes, coming to that. We haven't charged anybody locally. But I will say though, one of our our regional jurisdiction or partners did resort to charging persons criminally for laundering, for being engaged in this scheme. Look,
Okay, we have a call.
Yes. Hello,
Caller,
and blessed
you're on
good
the air.
morning to the police. But just remember, we as local don't get these things, but police and army too, 'cause all those are human. So you all could check on everybody.
sure.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that caller.
Yes. So, like I was saying, we haven't charged anyone locally. The decision to prefer charges against persons for money laundering is decided by the DPP. The Director of Public Prosecution is the only person authorized to initiate prosecution in money laundering matters. That's according to the Persons of Crime Act. We have discussed with the DPP, and he agreed with our advice, and he also advised that we engage in educating persons, let persons know what is going on, because we do not want to be prosecuting the person who may have been fooled or tricked into getting into an offense. Besides, given the severity of the consequences and the amount of persons being involved in that, to jump to prosecuting as our first option would have, in my opinion, would have seen to be a bit of, very harsh. And the DPP did indicate that once we have educated the public out there, if persons fail to adhere to the instructions or to the advice given, of course, at some point we'll have to start to prosecute the person locally for the offences.
Yes, thank you so much for that. How do you differentiate between the genuine jobs online and these scams? How do we differentiate the difference? Is that a message for the sergeant? Is that for the
I think
sergeant?
this was a good answer.
Ms. Wilson?
Okay, well, first we must realize that first we must understand that a genuine employer would not ask you to send certain sensitive information. Also, if you have a genuine employer, you would most likely meet this person. You can't have a genuine employer and you have never seen the individual. Also, you would have an address as to where is my employer located. Also, a genuine employer would not communicate with you behind a facade, I should say.
Anonymously.
Thank you. So these are some of the indicators, and also a genuine employer would not ask you to. A genuine employer would not ask you. I like to say to be to act in a role that you aren't paid for. Typically, employers would have their finance department and all these relevant departments who are responsible for paying persons. They're not going to be sending you monies to send out to other persons for payment. So those are some stuff that we can use to differentiate between a genuine. With a genuine employer, there is some structure.
And if I may add, Ms. Odendo, you have to look at the proportionality of the payment versus the work being done. If you're getting $300, which is typically what they have been paid to do the work that they're doing, and they're required to do a job that is about 1 hour's work at most, it's not proportional.
Right.
If that's the case, we wouldn't have been here working as police and cybercrime person. We will be writing speeches and doing tasks and doing research for that amount of payment. The fact of the matter is, this is something that you have indicated to the persons that this doesn't seem to be genuine. It seems too good to be true. And there are other signs. I mean, they are advertising on Facebook. If you do an internet search, your due diligence, you would not see that these persons have a website anywhere. You know, they are offering jobs in St. Kitts and Nevis from a purported company. But you could have simply do a Google search and see that this company doesn't exist.
But as you said, they are targeting persons that are not.
Well, the victims are the persons who are the elderly, but we saw that the persons who are engaged in these activities, they're actually very young persons who we know should be computer savvy. We love
The person that is actually going out doing the researches and doing the job.
Applying for the
but
jobs.
the victims are the person that monies are being withdrawn
From.
actually. Thank you so much. I have just moved to the front of the class. Thank you so much for that. You spoke about sensitization, and this is very important in educating the public, and I'm glad that the DPP used that discussion with you guys and advise that we go along that way. So tell me, what have you been doing to sensitize the public? This is very important. When we think that murder is destroying our crime stats, these things are also causing havoc in our federation that needs to be clipped.
True.
So what have you been doing and what are the plans going forward?
Okay. The FIU and the White Collar Crime Unit of the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force, along with the FSRC, we have been collaborating in terms of developing advisories for the public so that they can be made aware of the scam, its features, and various indicators, and who to contact in the event that you suspect that you are being caught in this scam. Also, our subcommittee, the implementation committee, which is a subcommittee of the National Anti-Money Laundering Committee, which is NAMLAC, have also been engaged with financial institutions in terms of sensitization, in terms of explaining to them what are the features and what to look out for. And it is our aim and hope to continue our sensitization, so we would ensure that the public understands, so that these activities would be no more within our
And
jurisdiction.
probably, just to add, probably you can do a school drive, because you speak about the 16 and 17 years old. I guess they're
So
just leaving
younger.
school, desperate to make some money and stuff like that. So probably you can target us, do a school drive.
That is
Yes.
a good idea. We will take that on. And to add to what was said by Miss Wilson, the police, we have our regional partners. We have been liaising with our regional partners through the ARIN Carib network. We spoke to our counterparts and ensured that they too put out their advisories as well. We also spoke to the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. You know, they are the ones responsible for regulatory work as it relates to the banks in the region, and they too have indicated that they will do the necessary work in terms of ensuring that the financial institutions under their supervision are informed of this scam.
Thank you so much. I want to go back to this phishing, 'cause, you know, it keeps popping up. How do we prevent phishing emails, or what can we do if you are a victim of phishing? The
Well,
great Sergeant?
How I would answer that, you really basically cannot prevent it. You could try slow them down by means of reporting. Most or all of the email providers, Gmail, Hotmail and those others, have means of reporting them, right? And once you report that, they share the information with agencies like Interpol, Europol and other law enforcement agencies, and they would put them on a watch list, basically. So if you would look closely, you would see in your Gmail or your Hotmail, you have a spam folder. Once they are blacklisted, it goes directly to that folder. Be careful also, commercials and adverts go to that folder also. So you'd want to be careful with clicking on those emails that generate in the spam folders. When we do not report, these senders do not get blacklisted, so they might pop up in your inbox and you click them. So one has to be conscious of the fact that we have to do our part in reporting these activities. Okay? Once reported, as I said, like you could report it to the police also if you do not know how to do it via that page, and the police would also pass on that information to the relevant agencies. We have a link with each other. We can download antivirus software to scan the links and the attachments that comes with the emails, and more importantly, we must use the internet responsibly. If you do not know a sender, don't click on the link, don't click on the email. Okay. Nothing is wrong with, even if you know the sender and you said this person doesn't normally send me an email. Nothing is wrong with picking up the phone, sending a WhatsApp message. It takes a couple of seconds. Make a phone call and say, hey, you send me a picture or something. They normally disguise them as porn sometimes, a lot of us like to click on those things, disguise them as the lottery scams. So we just have to be careful. I have a iPhone and we get an email. You just want $100,000 in a Samsung drawer.
Yeah.
I never had a Samsung before. so that's things we have to be careful and look out for. All right?
I made a one. Well, he wasn't the person who actually, or the technician that actually I spoke to initially, but he spoke about the rules and
rules.
Yes.
Okay. And next year, once they get you download these viruses, trojans or worms, they take over your computer basically. Right? They gain access to your passwords and all that. So what the specific incident he's talking about, they gain access to the person's email. They went into their rules and changed the rules to whatever the purpose of the activity they want to do. So, if I can recall correctly, this one, they changed the rule to forward all the emails to another inbox. So before you see your email, they would be forwarded to another inbox. So they will intercept your email basically. They'll also set a rule, when an email comes in, do not alert you. So you do not know you get your email. So the email comes to your inbox, but you do not know. It's marked as read one time and forwarded to the malicious actor. Then they got all your information. They can then go and do the doctoring of your receipts, reach out to your friends. They have a contact list. They have access to your sent emails, so they know what you do on a daily basis, your patterns and all these things.
Yeah. I can really say, wow. Jesus.
So that's how you get your information through the phishing campaigns. They get your information through that and they move from there.
You got my attention. Thank you so much for that. We have a call. Caller, you're on the air.
Good morning. I have a question for the inspector. Is there a targeted group these scammers are targeting?
Targeted group?
Can you repeat, sir?
For instance, age, gender.
Oh, okay, yes. So, like we have said, the victims are primarily businesses and older persons or more vulnerable persons in society. The person that they're using to launder the funds are usually some younger persons. Primarily, we see female, and we see primarily between the ages around 17 to 24 thereabout. These are the ones being used to launder the funds.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, we have also seen that everybody who was successful in getting funds, they tell their family, they tell their friends to apply for jobs as well. So they're doing a very good job in spreading this marketing for these scammers as well.
Thank you so much, caller, for that. Thank you, Inspector. What should a person do if they receive these funds?
Well, I will say to you right now, if you happen to have fill out one of these applications, because what happens when you fill out the application, they don't contact you immediately. It's only when they're successful in hacking an account is when they will contact you. So if you had filled out an application and you got an email from this person saying that funds have been wired to your account, I would advise you to not spend the monies. Now that we have done all of this outreach, as Ms. Wilson explained, now that we have been on air right now talking to the general public, issued advisories, I believe anybody who would engage in these activities going forward should be held responsible criminally. So the message is out there is very clear. If you had filled out the application, fine, it's already in the past. But if funds are deposited into your account, report the matter immediately to the police, to the white collar crimes, or to the FIU. You don't spend the monies, you don't send the monies overseas, you don't follow any instructions given to you by these persons, because these funds have been stolen from persons' accounts. It's not legitimate funds, and if you were to engage in this, it will be engaged in money laundering, and of course the consequences for that is quite severe.
Thank you so much, Inspector. I want to give you guys a final word to address the listening and viewing audience as to when it comes to the job search scamming or the online scamming. Inspector, the point.
Well, I will just go. Well, like I will say, I've said already before, if it's too good to be true, it usually is not true. You can't expect to be paid all of this money for doing minimal work. You have to see the red flags. You don't, nobody gonna contact you via WhatsApp and ask you to do these instructions from a legitimate company out there. You should not engage in this. Well, it might sound attractive, of course. We understand persons may be going through difficult times, but you can't compromise yourself by falling prey to these scammers out there by engaging in money laundering. Like I said, anybody who is listening right now, she should inform their friends and their families, because we have seen that when they are successful in getting the funds, they spread the word. So if you are here listening to this show right now, spread the word. Let persons know that these scams are out there. We have seen many persons being victimized. We have seen many persons falling prey to this laundering scheme, and the consequences are quite severe. And I would expect that if persons were to engage in this going forward, there will be some much more serious consequences as opposed to what we have been doing right now.
Thank you so much, Sergeant.
All right. I would encourage persons to be more vigilant and cautious when using the internet, especially when opening emails. I would also encourage them to report any suspicious activities or think will be suspicious. It may sound or look minimal or mediocre to you, but it might be something serious or something more damaging. And think before you click, before you download these attachments. Alright, so.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so to the listening public, I would advise you to be wary of these schemes, and as the sergeant said, to report to the FIU, report to the police if you realize that you're involved in these scams. Remember that these scammers are working overtime, so you have to ensure that you be on the lookout, so be vigilant.
Thank you, my guest. You came with a wealth of knowledge. You had me thinking, you had me saying wow. But it is very important for us to understand what is going on in our federation, and the persons that are affected are the elderlies, and our young people are both targeted in these acts. So I want you guys to listen, that have listened, have acted on these, to share what we are saying, what we are doing. I hope and trust that you guys continue to sensitize the public on these matters. I want to thank GQ and ZIZ for having us. I want to thank the Almighty God for His time. I want to thank you, my listening and viewing audience. I am your host, Shaminuddin. See you next time.
Why all the